The red lights flashed throughout Research Station Omega-9 as the emergency alarms screamed their warning. Admiral Kai ran down the metal hallway, his boots hitting the floor with loud sounds. Behind him, his soldiers tried to keep up, but their faces showed fear. "Sir, the beast broke out of the containment room 3 hours ago," said Officer Park, breathing hard as he spoke into his communication device. "We have lost contact with security teams 1 through 5. Kai stopped at the main control room and looked at the screens on the wall. Each screen showed different parts of the space station, and most of them showed destruction, broken walls, torn metal, and emergency lights that blinked on and off. But the worst part was what they could not see. The sounds coming through the speakers, a deep, angry roar echoed through the station, making everyone in the control room step back. The sound was not like any normal animal. It was the sound of something very big, very strong, and very angry. "Show me the creature," Kai said to the computer operator. The main screen changed to show a long hallway in Sector 7. At first, everything looked normal. Then something moved in the shadows. The Warbeast stepped into the light, and everyone in the room became very quiet. The creature was huge, 12 feet tall and covered in black skin that looked like armor. Its arms were as thick as tree trunks, and its claws were as long as kitchen knives. But the most scary thing about it was its eyes. They glowed with a strange blue light. And when you looked at them, you could feel something trying to get inside. "Your head, Dr. Lee Ji-won rushed into the control room. Her white coat was torn, and she had blood on her hands. "Admiral," she said, trying to catch her breath. "The neural conditioning failed completely. The beast is not following any of our commands. How many people has it killed?" Kai asked, though he was not sure. He wanted to know the answer. 23 confirmed dead, sir. "But it is getting worse. The creature is learning our patterns. Every trap we set, every plan we make, it knows what we are going to do before we do it." Kai watched the screen as the beast walked through another hallway. It moved slowly, like it was thinking about something. When it came to a security door, it did not try to break it down with force. Instead, it touched the wall next to the door, and somehow the door opened by itself. "It is using its psychic powers," Dr. Ji-won explained. "We built it to be the perfect weapon against the Void Swarm. We gave it the ability to read minds and control machines with its thoughts. But now it is using those powers against us." The beast on the screen stopped walking and turned to look directly at the camera. For a moment, Kai felt like it was looking right at him. Then the screen went black. It destroyed another camera. Someone said, "Sir," Officer Park said, his voice shaking. "The creature is moving toward the civilian sectors. We have families living in that part of the station." Kai felt his heart sink. Among those families was Dr. Park Min-ho, who worked in the research department. Park had a wife named Yuna and a daughter named Sue. The little girl was only 8 years old. "How long do we have?" Kai asked, at the speed it is moving. "Maybe 15 minutes before it reaches Sector 12. Dr. Ji-won answered. Kai looked at the screens again. Half of them were broken or showed only empty hallways. The other half showed his soldiers trying to set up barriers and weapons. But he knew it would not work. They had already tried everything. The Warbeast had been created by the best scientists in the galaxy. It was supposed to be smart enough to think like a person, but strong enough to fight a whole army. It was supposed to follow orders and protect the people of the Galactic Council. But something had gone wrong during the final tests. The beast was supposed to bond with its handler, Dr. Ji-won said, reading Kai's thoughts. But during the neural conditioning process, something went wrong. Instead of bonding with us, it started to hate us. Every time we tried to control it, It gets angrier. Another roar came through the speakers. Closer this time, on one of the working screens, they could see the beast tearing apart a security checkpoint. The metal barriers that were supposed to stop it looked like paper in its claws. "Sir, we need to evacuate the civilian sectors now," Officer Park said. "Do it," Kai ordered. "Get everyone to the emergency shuttles. Move fast." But even as he gave the order, Kai knew they might not have enough time. The beast was too smart, too strong, and too angry. It had defeated their best soldiers, broken through their strongest barriers, and ignored their most powerful weapons. The red lights kept flashing, and the alarms kept screaming. And somewhere in the metal halls of the station, the Warbeast continued its path of destruction toward the innocent families who had no way to defend themselves. Dr. Jiwon stood in the middle of the control room, surrounded by computers and screens that showed nothing but failure. Her hands shook as she tried to think of something, anything, that could stop the Warbeast before it reached the families. "Try the neural scramblers again," she told Technician Kim Dae, who was working at a computer covered in blinking lights. Kim pressed buttons and moved switches, but the machine made a sad beeping sound. "The scramblers are not working. Doctor, the beast's brain is too different from what we expected. It is like trying to stop a storm with a small umbrella." On the main screen, they watched the Warbeast walk through another hallway. It moved like it owned the place, not hurrying, just walking steadily toward its goal. When it came to a thick metal door that was supposed to keep it out, the creature just looked at it. The door made a clicking sound and opened by itself. "It is reading the electronic systems," Dr. Jiwon said. "Every lock, every barrier, every trap. It knows how to get past them." Admiral Kai walked over to another group of people who were preparing the biggest tranquilizer gun on the station. The gun was so large that 3 people had to carry it. And the darts were as big as bottles. "This should be enough tranquilizer to put down a space whale," said Sergeant Obin, loading the weapon carefully. "We are going to hit it from 3 different directions at the same time." But when they tried their plan, the results were terrible. The first dart hit the beast in the shoulder, and it just looked down at it like someone had thrown a pebble. The second dart hit its back, and the creature pulled it out with one claw. The third dart never got fired because the beast grabbed the soldier who was carrying the gun and threw him into the wall. "The tranquilizer is not working," Sergeant O said over his radio, his voice full of fear. "It is like the beast's body is fighting off the medicine as fast as we put it in." Dr. Jiwon felt her hope getting smaller and smaller. They had tried everything that science could think of, but nothing worked. The beast was too smart, too strong, and too angry. "What about the battle monks?" asked Officer Park. "They are supposed to be able to talk to any living creature." The Altarian battle monks were famous throughout the galaxy. These special beings could speak to animals with their minds, calm angry creatures, and make friends with the most dangerous beasts in space. 3 of them were on the station, and they had agreed to try to help. The monks were tall and thin, with skin that looked like it was made of silver. They did not speak with words, but communicated by touching their fingers to their foreheads and thinking very hard. When they agreed to face the Warbeast, everyone felt hopeful for the first time in hours, but the attempt went wrong very quickly. The monks approached the beast in Sector 9. Walking slowly and thinking peaceful thoughts, they tried to connect their minds to the creature's mind, the way they had done successfully with thousands of other animals. Instead of calming down, the Warbeast became more angry than ever. Its eyes began to glow brighter, and the monks suddenly screamed. Not with their voices, but with their minds. The psychic scream was so loud that everyone on the station felt it. Like a sharp pain in their heads, two of the monks fell to the ground and did not get up. The third monk managed to run away, but his silver skin had turned grey, and his eyes looked empty and scared. The beast's mind is full of chaos. The surviving monk told them later, his voice shaking. It is not like other creatures. Its thoughts are like a storm made of anger and confusion. When we tried to touch its mind, it hurt us back. Dr. Jiwon realized that the neural conditioning had done something terrible to the beast's brain. Instead of making it obedient, the process had filled its mind with rage and pain. Every time someone tried to control it or calm it down, the beast remembered the experiments and became more angry. On the screens, they could see the creature getting closer to the civilian sectors. It had learned to avoid their traps and weapons. When they tried to block a hallway, it found another way. When they tried to confuse it with fake signals, it ignored them. The beast was always one step ahead. It is learning faster than we can plan, Sergeant O reported. Every strategy we use, it figures out how to beat it. It is like fighting against someone who can read our minds. Dr. Park Min-ho ran into the control room, his face white with worry. My family is still in Sector 12, he said. The evacuation shuttle left without them because the blast doors closed automatically. My wife and daughter are trapped. Admiral Kai looked at all the broken screens and failed weapons around him. His best soldiers were hurt or scared. His smartest scientists had no more ideas. The most powerful weapons on the station had done nothing to slow the beast down. The creature was now only 2 corridors away from where innocent families were hiding, and they were completely out of options. Kim Soo held her stuffed tiger tightly as she followed her mother through the crowded hallway. Everyone was running and shouting, and the red lights kept flashing on and off. The loud alarm sounds hurt her ears. But she tried to be brave like her father always told her to be. Stay close to me, Sue, her mother Yuna said, holding her hand as they moved with the crowd toward the emergency shuttles. Everything will be okay. But as they walked, Sue felt something soft fall from her backpack. She looked down and saw Mr. Stripes, her favorite stuffed tiger, lying on the floor. The crowd of people kept moving, and someone almost stepped on him. Yama, wait. Sue called out, but her mother could not hear her over all the noise and shouting. Sue let go of her mother's hand and bent down to pick up Mr. Stripes. When she stood up again, the crowd had moved past her, and she could not see her mother anywhere. The hallway was suddenly very quiet and empty. Yama, she called, but there was no answer. Only the sound of the alarms and something else, strange noises coming from somewhere deeper in the station. Sounds like metal breaking and something very big moving round. Sue was not the kind of child who got scared easily. Back home in Seoul, she was always the one who helped hurt animals in the park. When Mrs. Kim's big dog barked at everyone, Sue was the only person who could pet him and make him calm down. Her grandmother always said she had a special way with animals. The strange sounds were getting louder, and Sue became curious. She walked down the empty hallway, following the sounds. The emergency lights made everything look different, but she was not afraid. Her father worked on this station, and she knew it was a safe place. As she walked, she passed through automatic doors that opened with a soft whoosh sound. The hallways were all empty now, and her footsteps echoed off the metal walls. The sounds ahead were getting clearer. She could hear something breathing very heavily, like a big animal that had been running. Sue turned a corner and found herself in a wider hallway. There were broken pieces of metal on the floor, and some of the lights were not working. She could see what looked like claw marks on the walls, deep scratches that went through the paint and into the metal underneath. "Hello," she called out softly. "Is someone there?" That was when she heard it. A low, rumbling sound that was not quite a growl and not quite a moan. It sounded like the noise her neighbor's cat made when it was upset about something. But this sound was much bigger. Sue walked further down the hallway, still holding Mr. Stripes. She passed some sleeping soldiers who were lying on the floor next to broken guns and pieces of torn metal. They looked hurt, but they were still breathing. So she knew they would be okay. At the end of the hallway, she saw a shadow moving. Something very big was standing there, just round the corner. Sue could hear it breathing and making that upset sound. She walked closer, not afraid but curious about what kind of animal could be so big. When she turned the corner into Sector 7, she saw it. The Warbeast was standing in the middle of the hallway, and it was the biggest animal Sue had ever seen. It was much taller than her father, with thick black skin that looked like armor. Its arms were huge and strong, and its claws were longer than her fingers. But what caught her attention most were its eyes. They were glowing with a blue light, and they looked very, very sad. The creature was breathing hard, and its whole body was shaking. To everyone else, it looked angry and dangerous, but to Sue, who had spent her whole life understanding animals, it looked like something different. It looked scared and confused, and lonely. The beast turned its big head toward her, and their eyes met. For a moment, neither of them moved. In the control room far away, people were watching on cameras and holding their breath, waiting for something terrible to happen. But Sue just stood there, looking up at the creature with the same calm expression she used when she met any new animal. She tilted her head to one side, the way she did when she was trying to understand what an animal was feeling. "Oh," she said softly, her voice echoing in the quiet hallway. "You are scared." "Are not you?" The Warbeast's glowing eyes flickered, and for the first time in many hours, the angry red light round its body began to fade just a little bit. It made that low, rumbling sound again, but this time it sounded more like a question than a threat. Sue took a small step forward, still holding Mr. Stripes. She was not running away like everyone else had done. She was not pointing weapons at it or trying to hurt it. She was just a small girl with a stuffed tiger, looking at a big, scared animal with kind eyes. "It is okay," she said gently. "I am not going to hurt you." Sue looked up at the big creature and felt something strange. In her head, it was like when she had a bad dream, but she was awake. The feeling was full of hurt and fear and sadness, and she knew it was coming from the animal in front of her. The Warbeast was making that low sound again, and its whole body was shaking. Sue had seen animals act this way before, when she found the hurt bird in the park last year. It had acted scared just like this. When Mrs. Park's dog got lost and was found 3 days later, he had the same look in his eyes. "You are not mean," Sue said quietly, taking another small step closer. "You are just scared and confused. Are not you?" In the control room, Admiral Kai and Dr. Jiwon watched the screens with wide eyes. Everyone was very quiet, afraid to make any sound that might make the situation worse. "The psychic readings are changing," Dr. Jiwon whispered, looking at her computer. "The creature's anger levels are going down for the first time since it escaped." On the screen, they could see little Sue standing in front of the huge beast, completely unafraid. She was holding her stuffed tiger and talking to the creature like it was a friendly dog she had met in the park. "You know what I think," Sue said to the Warbeast. "I think all those people made you feel bad because they were scared of you. But when people are scared, it makes animals scared too. My grandmother taught me that." The creature's blue eyes were still glowing, but not as brightly as before. It moved its big head down closer to Sue, and she could feel its warm breath on her face. The feeling in her head was still there. But now it felt more like sadness than anger. "My dad works here," Sue continued, her voice calm and gentle. "He tells me about all the animals they study. You are one of those animals, are not you? But something went wrong, and now you do not know what to do. The Warbeast made a different sound now. Softer and higher. It sounded almost like a whimper, like the sound her neighbor's puppy made when it wanted attention. Sue reached up slowly and touched the creature's huge arm. Its skin felt warm and rough, like the bark of a tree. The beast did not pull away. Instead, it seemed to lean into her touch a little bit. "You are very big and very strong," Sue said. "But you do not want to hurt people, do you? You just do not know how to make the scared feelings go away." In her 8 years of life, Sue had never met an animal she could not calm down. Her mother always said she had magic hands when it came to animals. But this was not magic. It was just understanding and kindness. The Warbeast lowered its head even more, until its glowing eyes were level with Sue's face. She looked right into those eyes and saw what everyone else had missed. Behind all that anger and power, there was just a confused and lonely creature that did not understand what was happening to it. "You know what you need to do," Sue said, her voice becoming a little firmer, the way it did when she talked to misbehaving pets. "You need to calm down and listen." She took a step back and looked up at the huge creature. Then she did something that her grandmother had taught her to do with any animal that was acting wild or scared. She stood up straight, looked the beast directly in the eyes, and used her most confident voice. "Set," she said clearly. The word echoed through the empty hallway. It was not loud, but it was full of certainty and authority. Sue had used that same tone of voice with dozens of animals, and it always worked. The Warbeast froze completely. Its massive body stopped shaking, and its breathing became quieter. The blue glow in its eyes flickered like a candle in the wind. In the control room, every person held their breath. Dr. Jiwon's computers showed that the creature's psychic activity was changing in ways they had never seen before. "Set," Sue repeated. A little more firmly this time. She raised her small hand and pointed at the floor, just like she did when training any animal. For a moment that felt like forever, nothing happened. The Warbeast stood perfectly still, as if it was thinking about something very important. Then, slowly and carefully, the huge creature began to lower itself toward the floor, its powerful legs bent, and its massive body settled down until it was sitting like an enormous dog. The silence that followed was complete. Throughout the space station, everyone who was watching could not believe what they were seeing. The most dangerous creature in the galaxy. The beast that had defeated their best soldiers and broken through their strongest defenses was sitting quietly because a small girl had asked it to. Sue smiled and walked over to the beast. She reached up and gently patted its huge head, the same way she would pet any good animal. "Good," she said softly. "Very good. See, you can be calm when you try, for the first time in days." The Warbeast's eyes stopped glowing with anger and began to glow with something else entirely. Peace. Dr. Jiwon stared at her computer screen and could not believe what she was seeing. All the numbers and graphs that had been showing anger and chaos for hours were now showing something completely different. The Warbeast's brain patterns looked calm and peaceful, like a sleeping cat. "This is impossible," she whispered to Admiral Kai, who was standing next to her. "Look at these readings. The creature's psychic energy has completely changed." On the main screen, they watched as little Sue sat down on the floor next to the huge beast. She opened her small backpack and pulled out a tablet computer that she used for games and pictures. "Want to see my pictures?" Sue asked the creature, holding up the tablet. "I have lots of photos of animals from Earth." The Warbeast leaned its massive head down to look at the small screen. Its glowing eyes focused on the pictures as Sue showed them one by one. There were photos of dogs playing in a park, cats sleeping in the sun, and birds flying through the sky. "This is my neighbor's dog, Buster," Sue explained, pointing at a picture of a golden retriever. "He used to bark at everyone, but now he is my friend. And this is a cat I found in the alley behind our house. She was scared and hungry, but now she lives with us." The creature made soft rumbling sounds as it looked at each picture. It seemed especially interested in the photos of Sue's family, her mother and father smiling at the camera, and Sue herself hugging various animals. Dr. Park Min-ho had finally reached Sector 7, running as fast as he could to find his daughter, when he turned the corner and saw Sue sitting calmly next to the Warbeast. He stopped so suddenly that he almost fell down. "Sue," he called out quietly, afraid that any loud noise might break the peaceful moment. "Appa," Sue said happily, waving at her father. "Come meet my new friend." He was scared and angry, but now he is much better. Dr. Park walked slowly toward them, his heart beating very fast. But as he got closer, he could see that his daughter was completely safe. The Warbeast looked at him with calm eyes and made a gentle sound, almost like it was saying hello. "How did you do this?" Dr. Park asked his daughter, kneeling down beside her. "I just talked to him like I talk to all animals," Sue said simply. He was not really angry. He was just scared because everyone was being mean to him and trying to hurt him. Animals do not like it when people are scared of them because it makes them scared too. Admiral Kai and Dr. Jiwon arrived a few minutes later with a group of soldiers, but they kept their weapons down and their voices quiet. The change in the Warbeast was so obvious that even the soldiers could see it. The child approached without fear or aggression. Dr. Jiwon explained to Admiral Kai as they watched Sue continue to show pictures to the creature every time we sent soldiers or weapons near the beast. We were sending signals of danger and hostility. The creature's psychic abilities made it feel all of our fear and anger, which made it more angry in return. Like a feedback loop, Admiral Kai said, beginning to understand. Exactly. But the child treated it like what it really is, not a weapon or a monster, but a living being that was confused and frightened. She broke the cycle by approaching with kindness instead of fear. Over the next few weeks, Sue visited the Warbeast every day after school. She brought books to read to it, more pictures to show, and sometimes just sat quietly with it while doing her homework. The creature seemed to enjoy her company, and its behavior continued to improve. The scientists learned that the Warbeast was much more intelligent than they had thought. It could understand human speech, recognize faces, and even solve simple puzzles. The problem had never been with the creature itself, but with how people had treated it. "We tried to control it with fear and force," Dr. Jiwon explained to the Galactic Council in her report. "But it needed trust and friendship. The human child understood this instinctively." 3 months later, when the Void Swarm attacked the Kepler system, the Warbeast fought alongside the human fleet. But it was not fighting as a weapon. It was fighting as a partner. Sue had been officially named as its handler, making her the youngest council liaison in galactic history. The battle was won quickly. The Void Swarm had never faced a creature that fought with both intelligence and cooperation. Instead of just rage and destruction. After the victory, reporters from across the galaxy came to interview Sue. They wanted to know how she had tamed the most dangerous creature in space. "I did not tame him," Sue always told them, sitting next to her huge friend, who listened to every word. I just became his friend. Everyone gets scared sometimes, even really big, strong animals. You just have to show them that they are safe and that you care about them." The Warbeast would nod its massive head when she said this, and its eyes would glow with the warm light of contentment. It had found something it had never had before, a real friend who understood that sometimes the strongest creatures just need someone to be kind to them. The galaxy was still learning what humans could teach them about friendship and understanding.